Hey, what's up guys? I'm going to show you how to use image planes to bring in images to Maya to then model off of. So a lot of times it's a little difficult to actually get images that are going to be helpful. I've found that one of the most helpful keywords is blueprint, and that'll give you some isometric views as well as front views, side views, and from here you can actually get an image and save it to wherever your project folder is. Then you will want to go into your front view. If you're in perspective view and you bring in an image plane, it's going to bring it parallel to the image of your perspective camera, and it'll just make things a little confusing. So I'm going to hold spacebar and then I'm going to hold left click and go into my front view. Then I will go to view and image plane, import image, and I'm going to locate my actual image. Great. So here it is. Now, the first thing is I have the overall image and the origin is at the center of the image, but I actually want the origin to be at the center of the spaceship. And so here it's a little finicky, so I'm going to click off of the actual image and click back on it, and I'm going to hold D. What D allows you to do is move the origin of the actual object, and in this case it's the image plane. So here I'm holding D. You can see that the arrows change to these just lines, and I can move it along these axes and just kind of place it there. An approximate is okay. And I'm going to let go of D, and now the origin is at that spot instead of in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and try to align it with the center of the grid. However, I can't do that easily. If I do want to do it so that it snaps to the grid, then I would hold X and then start dragging things. And from there it'll let you just snap to different parts on the grid. Then I'm going to go back into my perspective view and just make sure that the image is there. Yep, cool. Now I want to go into my right view because that's the one that matches up with this upper right hand image. So I'll go to spacebar and then left click and into the right view. I'm going to do the same thing as I did before, view, image plane, import image, and then navigate to the image again. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to hold D. Now if you notice, it's that little quirk. When I hold D, it disappears. So I'm going to click off of the actual object and then marquee selected again, and now I can hold D. I'm going to go right to the middle of it, and this is me holding D and clicking and holding to move it, and now I'm letting go. I'm holding X, and that's just going to let me snap it to the middle. Spacebar and click hold, perspective view. Now I can actually start lining them up. So they're doing a pretty decent job right now. However, the sizes are way off. So I'm going to make sure that this inner circle is pretty much the same, and that the tops of the wings and the bottom of the wings are lining up. And I can go ahead and do that just to see. And those are pretty darn close, so I think that's going to be okay. I'm going to snap it back to the middle, and from here you have all of your image planes ready to go. However, if you don't want to be selecting them later on, then you can always lock them by selecting marquee select and going over to the channel box and just doing a left click, a shift left click down, and doing a right click and then locking selected. That's going to make them turn all blue. Anytime you see that these channel boxes are blue, that means that they're locked. So it means when you are selecting things, you can't actually move anything, which is helpful but then also frustrating if you don't know that the objects are locked. So I'm going to go ahead and lock this second image plane, do the same thing, left click, shift left click, right click, and then locked selected. From here you can start building. However, if you do want the image planes to start, they can sometimes start getting in the way. So if you select them and then go into the alpha gain, you can do a middle mouse click down, and it'll bring up this sort of slider cursor and slowly bring it over to the left, and it'll bring it down, the opacity. Same with the other side. I'm going to do an alpha gain and bring that down. And that'll just help you see the image a little bit more clearly sometimes. In this case, it gets a little sort of confusing in here. The other thing that I want to show you is turning off the grid system, because the grid can sometimes be helpful, but also sometimes be in the way. So if you go to Show and then Grid, then that'll turn it off. Another way of turning off the grid would be going to Display and then Grid. You can also change the actual size of the grid by going into the option box of the grid options. That's it for now. That's just sort of a quick overview of how to bring image planes into the windows and how to set them up in the correct orthographic views. I hope it was helpful, and I'll see you guys later.